Okay, welcome to another video. Okay, this is the last chapter of this book, The Richest Man in Babylon. Okay, the last chapter have lots of pages, so I read first 3 pages, then like this. Okay, the luckiest man in Babylon. At the head of his caravan, proudly rode Sarunara, the merchant prince of Babylon. He liked fine clothes and or rich and becoming robes. He liked fine animals and sat easily upon his spirited Arabian stallion. To look at him, one would hardly have guessed his advanced years. Certainly, they would not have suspected that he was inwardly troubled. The journey from Damascus is long and the hardships of the desert many. These he minded not. The Arab tribes are fierce and eager to loot rich caravans. This he feared not, for his many fleet mounted guards were a safe protection about the youth at his side, whom he was bringing from Damascus. Was he disturbed? This was Hadan Gula, the grandson of his partner of other years, Arab Gula, to whom he felt he owed a debt of gratitude which could never be repaid. He would like to do something for this grandson, but the more he considered this, the more difficult it seemed because of the youth himself. Eyeing the young man's rings and earrings, he thought to himself, he thinks jewelers are for men. Still, he has his grandfather's strong face, but his grandfather wore no such gaudy robes. Yet I sought him to come, hoping I might help him get a start for himself and get away from the wreck his father has made of their inheritance. Hadan Gula broke in upon his thoughts. Why dost thou work so hard, riding always with the caravan upon its long journeys? Dost thou never take time to enjoy life? Sarunara smiled. To enjoy life, he repeated. What wouldest thou do to enjoy life if thou wert Sarunada? If I had wealth equal to thin, I would live like a prince, never across the hot desert. Would I ride? I would spend the shekels as fast as they came to my purse. I would wear the richest of robes and the rarest of jewelries. That would be a life to my liking, a life worth living. Both men and men loved. The grandfather or no jewelries. Sarunada spoke before he thought, then continued jokingly. Wouldst thou leave no time for work? Work was made for slaves. Hadan Gula responded. Sarunada bit his lip but made no reply. riding in silence until the trail led them to the slough. Here he reined his mount and pointing to the green valley far away. See, there is the valley. Look far down and thou canst faintly see the walls of Babylon. The tower is in the temple of Baal. If thine eyes are sharp, thou mayst even see the smoke from the eternal fire upon its crest. So that is Babylon. Always have I longed to see the wealthiest city in the world. Hadan Gula commented, Babylon, where my grandfather started his fortune. Would he were still alive, we would not be so sorely pressed. Why wish his spirit to linger on earth beyond its allotted time? Thou, the and their father can well carry on his good work. Alas, of us neither has his gift. Father and myself know not his secret for attracting the golden shekels. Sarunada did not reply but gave rein to his mount and rode thoughtfully down the trail to the valley. Behind them followed the caravan in a cloud of reddish dust. Some time later, they reached the king's highway and turned south through the irrigated farms. Three old men plowing a field caught Sarunada's attention. They seemed strangely familiar. How ridiculous! One does not pass a field after 40 years and find the same men plowing there. Yet something within him said they were the same. One with an uncertain grip held the plow, the others laboriously plodded beside the oxen ineffectually, beating them with their barrel staffs to keep them pulling. 40 years ago, he had envied these men. How gladly he would have exchanged places. But what a difference now! With pride, he looked back at his trailing caravan, well chosen camels and donkeys, loaded high with valuable goods from Damascus. All this was but one of his possessions. He pointed to the plowers, saying, still plowing the same field where they were 40 years ago. They look it, but why thinkest thou they are the same? I saw them there. Sarunada replied. Recollections were racing rapidly through his mind. Why could he not bury the past and live in the present? Then he saw, as in a picture, the smiling face of Aradgullah. The barrier between himself and the cynical youth beside him dissolved. But how could he help such a superior youth with his spent thrift ideas and bejeweled hands? Work he could offer him plenty of willing workers, but not for men who considered themselves too good for work. Yet he obeyed it to Aradgullah to do something, not a half-hearted attempt. He and Arab Gula had never done things that way. They were not that sort of men. A plan came almost in a flash. There were objections. He must consider his own family and his own standing. It would be cruel. It would hurt. Being a man of quick decisions, he waived objections and decided to act. Wouldst thou be interested in hearing how the worthy grandfather and myself joined in the partnership which proved so profitable? He questioned. Why not just tell me how thou madest the golden shekels? That is all I need to know, the young man parried. Sarunada ignored the reply and continued. We start with those men plowing. I was no older than thou. As the column of men in which I marched approached, Lord Megiddo was chained next to me. Look at the lazy fellows, he protested. The plow holder makes no effort to plow deep, nor do the beaters keep in the oxen in the furrow. How can they expect that to raise a good crop with poor plowing? Didst thou say Megiddo was chained to the Hadangula? Asked in surprise. Yes, with bronze collars about our necks and a length of heavy chain between us. Next to him was Zobado, the sheep thief. I had known him in Harun. At the end was a man we called Pirate because he told us not his name. We judged him as a sailor. As he had an ant-winged serpents tattooed upon his chest in sailor fashion. The column was made of thorns, so the men could walk in force. Force. Okay? Thou wert chained as a slave. Hadan Gula asked incredulously. Did not the grandfather tell there I was one a slave? He often spoke of there but never hinted of this. He was a man thou couldst trust with innermost secrets. Thou too art a man I may trust. Am I not right? Sarunada looked him squarely in the eye. Thou mayest rely upon my silence, but I am amazed. Tell me, how didst thou come to me and be a slave? Sarunada shrugged his shoulders. Any man may find himself a slave. It was a gaming house, and barely beer that brought me disaster. I was the victim of my brother's indiscretions. In a brawl, he killed his friend. I was bonded to the window by my father, desperate to keep my brother from being prosecuted. Under the law, when my father could not raise the silver to free me, she in anger sold me to the slave dealer. What a shame and injustice, Hadan Gullah protested. But tell me, how didst thou regain freedom? Okay, we shall come to that, but not yet. Let us continue my tale. As we passed, the plows jeered at us. One did doff his raised hat and bow low, calling out, "Welcome to Babylon, guests of the king." He waits for the city walls where the banquet is spread, mud bricks and onion soup. With that they laughed uproariously. Pirate flew into a rage and cursed them roundly. What do those men mean by the king awaiting us on the walls? I asked him. To the city walls, ye march to carry bricks until the bake bricks. Maybe they beat the to that death before it breaks. They won't beat me. I will kill them. Then Megiddo spoke of. It does not make sense to me to talk of masters beating willingly, hard-working slaves to death. Masters like good slaves and treat them well. Who want to work hard? Commented Zavado. Those plows are wise fellows. They are not breaking their backs, just letting on as if they be. Thou can't get ahead by shrinking, Megiddo protested. If thou plow a hectare, that's a good day's work, and any master knows it. But when thou plow only a half, that's shrinking. I don't shrink. I like to work, and I like to do good work. For, for work is the best friend I have ever known. It has brought me all the good things. I have had my farm and cows and crops, everything. Yeah, and where be these things now? Scoffed Zabado. I figure it pays better to be smart and get by without working. You watch Zabado. If we are sold to the walls, he will be carrying the water bag or some easy job when thou who like to work will be breaking the bag carrying bricks. He laughed his silly laugh. Terror gripped me that night. I could not sleep. I crowded close to the guard roof, and when the others slept, I attracted the attention of Jodoso, who was doing the fast guard watch. He was one of those brigand Arabs, the sort of rogue who, if he robbed the Thai force, would think he must also cut the throat. Tell me, Jodoso, I wept, when we get to Babylon, will we be sold to the walls? Why want to know? He questioned courteously. Courteously, can't thou not understand? I pleased. I am young. I want to live. I did not want to be worked or beaten or death on the walls. Is there any chance for me to get a good master? He whispered back. I tell something, thou good fellow, give goddess no trouble. Most time we go fast to slab market. Listen now, when buyers come, tell them you good worker like to work hard for good masters. Make them want to buy. You not make them buy next day you carry brick. Mighty hard work. After they walked away, I lay in the warm sun, looking up at the stars and thinking about work. What Megiddo had said about it being his best friend made me wonder if it would be my best friend. Certainly, it would be if it helped me out of this. When Megiddo awoke, I whispered my good news to him. It was our one ray of hope as we marched toward Babylon. Late in the afternoon, we approached the walls and could see the lines of men like black ants climbing up and down the steep diagonal path. As we drew closer, we were amazed at the thousands of men working, somewhere digging in the mud, others mixed the dirt into mud bricks. The greatest number were carrying the bricks in large baskets of those steep trails to masons. Overseas cursed the laggards and cracked block whips over the backs of those who failed to keep in line. Poor, worn out fellows were seen to stagger and fell beneath their heavy baskets, unable to rise again. If the last failed to bring them to their feet, they were pushed to the side of the paths and left writhing in agony. Soon they would be dragged down to join other craven bodies beside the roadway to await unsanctified graves. As I behold, beheld the ghastly sight, I shuddered. So this was what awaited my father's son if he failed at the slab market. Jodoso had been right. We were taken through the gates of the city to the slave prison and next morning marched to the pens in the market. Here the rest of the men huddled in fear and only the whips of our guard could keep them moving so the buyers could examine them. Megiddo and myself eagerly talked to every man who permitted us to address him. The slab dealer brought soldiers from the king's guard who suckled pirate and brutally beat him when he protested as they led him away. I felt sorry for him. Megiddo felt that we would soon part when no buyers were near. He talked to me earnestly to impress upon me how valuable work would be to me in the future. Some men hate it, they make it their enemy. Better to treat it like a friend, make themselves like it. Don't mind because it is hard. If thou thinkest about what a good house thou build, then who cares if the beams are heavy and it is far from the well to carry the water for the plaster? Promise me, the boy, if thou get a master, work for him as hard as thou canst. If he does not appreciate all thou do, never mind. Remember, work well done does good to the man who does it. It makes him a better man. He stopped as a burly farmer came to the enclosure and looked at us critically. Megiddo asked, Megiddo asked about his farm and crops, soon convincing him that he would be a valuable man. After violent bargaining with the slave dealer, the farmer drew a fat purse from beneath his robe, and soon Megiddo had followed his new master out of sight. A few other men were sold during the morning. At noon, Joros confided to me that the dealer was disgusted and would not stay over another night, but would take all who remained at sundown to the king's buyer. I was becoming desperate when a fat, good-natured man walked up to the well and inquired if there was a baker among us. I approached him, saying, "Why should a good baker like thyself seek another baker of inferior ways? Would it not be easier to teach a willing man like myself the skilled ways? Look at me. I am young, strong, and like to work. Give me a chance, and I will do my best to earn gold and silver for the poor." If he was impressed by the willingness and began bargaining with the dealer who had never noticed me since he had bought me, but now waxed eloquent of my abilities, good health, and good disposition, I felt like a fat ox being sold to a butcher. At last, much to my joy, the deal was closed. I followed my new master away, thinking I was the luckiest man in Babylon. My new home was much of my liking. Nana Naid, my master, uh, taught me how to grind the barley in the stone bowl that stood in the courtyard, how to build the fire in the oven, and then how to grind the very fine and sesame flour for the honey cakes. I had a couch in the shed where his grain was stored. The old slave housekeeper, Swasti, fed me well and was pleased at the way I helped her with the heavy tasks. Here was the chance I had longed for to make myself valuable to my master, and I hoped to find a way to earn my freedom. I asked, I asked, okay, Nana need to show me how to knead the bread and to bake. This he did, much pleased at the willingness. Later, when I could do this well, I asked him to show me how to make the honey cakes, and soon I was doing all the baking. My master was glad to be idle, but Swasti shook her head in disapproval. "No work to do is bad for any man," she declared. I felt it was time for me to think of a way by which I might start to earn coins to buy my freedom. As the baking was finished at noon, I thought Nana Need would approve if I found profitable employment for the afternoons and might share my earnings with me. Then the thought came to me, why not bake more of the honey cake and peddle them to hungry men upon the streets of the city. I presented my plan to Nana Ned this way. If I can use my afternoons after the baking is finished to earn for the coins, would it be only fair for the to share my earnings with me, that I might have money of my own to spend for those things which every man desires and needs? Fair enough, he admitted. When I told him of my plan to peddle our honey cakes, he was well pleased. Here is what we will do, he suggested. Thou sellest them at two for a penny, then half of the pennies will be mine to pay for the flour and the honey and the wood to bake them. Of the rest I shall take half, and thou shalt keep half. I was much pleased by his generous offer that I might keep for myself one fourth of my sales. That night I worked late to make a tray upon which to display them. Nana Ned gave me one of his own robes that I might look well, and Swasti helped me patch it and wash it clean. The next day I baked an extra supply of honey cakes. They looked brown and tempting upon the tray as I went along the street, loudly calling my wares. At first no one seemed interested, and I became discouraged. I kept on, and later in the afternoon, as men became hungry, the cakes began to sell, and soon my tray was empty. Nana Ned was well pleased with my success and gladly paid me my share. I was delighted to own penises. Megiddo had been right when he said a master appreciated good work from his slaves. That night I was so excited over my success I could hardly sleep and tried to figure how much I earn in a year and how many years would be required to buy my freedom. As I went forth with my tray of cakes every day, I soon found regular customers. One of these was none other than the grandfather Arabgullah. He was a rug merchant and sold to the housewives going from one end of the city to other, accompanied by the donkey loaded high with rugs and a black slab to tend it. He would buy two cakes for himself and two for his slave, always staring to talk with me while they ate them. The grandfather said something to me one day that I shall always remember. I like the cakes, boy, but better still I like the fine enterprise with which thou operest them. Such spirit can carry thee far on the road to success. But how canst thou understand, Hadangula, what such words of encouragement could mean to slave away? Lonesome in a great city, struggling with all he had in him to find a way out of his humiliation. As the months went by, they continued to add pennies to my force. I began to have a comforting weight upon my belt. Work was proving to be my best friend, just as Megiddo had said. I was happy, but Swasti was worried. The master, I feared to have him spend so much time at the gaming houses. She protested. I was overjoyed one day to meet my friend Megiddo upon the street. He was leading three donkeys loaded with vegetables to the market. I am doing mighty well, he said. My master does appreciate my good work, for now I am a foreman. See, he does trust the marketing to me, and also He is sending for my family. Work is helping me to recover from my great trouble. Someday it will help me to buy my freedom and once more own a farm of my own. Time went. Okay. Time went and once more on a farm my of own. Time went and Nana need become more and more anxious for me to return from selling. He would be waiting when I returned and would eagerly count and divide our money. He would also urge me to seek further markets and increase my sales. Often I went outside the city gates to solicit the overseers of the slabs building the walls. I hated to return to the disagreeable sights but found liberal buyers. One day I was surprised to see Zobardo waiting in line to fill his basket with bricks. He was gaunt and bent, and his back was covered with welt and sores from the whips of the overseers. I was sorry for him and handed him a cake which he crossed into his mouth like a hungry animal. Seeing the greedy look in his eyes, I ran before he could grab my tray. Why dost thou work so hard? Arad Gula said to me one day, almost the same question thou asked of me today. Dost thou remember? I told him what Megiddo had said. Okay, what Megiddo had said about work and how it was proving to be my best friend. I showed him with pride my wallet of pennies and explained how I was saving them to buy my freedom. When thou art free, what wilt thou do? He inquired. Then I answered, I intend to become a merchant. At that, he confided in me something I had never suspected. Thou knowest not that I also am the slave. I am in partnership with my master. Stop demanded. Hadangula, I will not listen no lies defaming my grandfather. He was no slave. His eyes blazed in anger. Sarunada remained calm. I honor him for rising above his misfortune and becoming a leading citizen of Damascus. Art thou his grandson, cast of the same mold? Art thou man enough to face true facts, and dost thou prepare to live under false illusions? Hadangula straightened in his saddle in a voice suppressed with deep emotion. He replied, my grandfather was beloved by all. Countless were his good deeds. When the famine came, did not his gold buy grain in Egypt? And did not his caravan bring it to Damascus and distribute it to the people to none would starve? Now thou sayest he was but a despised slave in Babylon. Had he remained a slave in Babylon, then he might well have been despised. But when through his own efforts he became a great man in Damascus, the gods indeed condoned his misfortunes and honored him with their respect. Sarunada replied. After telling me that he was a slave, Sarunada continued. He explained how anxious he had been to earn his freedom. Now that he had enough money to buy this, he was most disturbed as to what he should do. He was no longer making good sales and feared to leave the support of his master. I protested his indecision. Cling, no longer know the master. Get once again the feeling of being a free man. Act like a free man and succeed like one. Decide what thou desirest to accomplish, and then work will aid that to achieve it. He went on his way, saying he was glad I had shamed him for his cowardice. One day I went outside the gates again and was surprised to find a great crowd gathering there. When I asked a man for an explanation, he replied, "Hast thou not heard? An escaped slave who murdered one of the king's guards has been brought to justice and will this day be flogged to death for his crime. Even the king himself is to be here." So dense was the crowd about the flogging post. I feared to go near lest my tray of honey cakes be upset. Therefore I climbed up the unfinished wall to see over the heads of the people. I was fortunate in having a view of Nebuchadnezzar himself. Golden chariot. Never had I beheld such grandeur, such robes and hangings of gold cloth and velvet. I could not see the flogging, though I could hear the shrieks of the poor slave. I wondered how one so noble as our handsome king could endure to see such suffering. Yet when I saw he was laughing and joking with his nobles, I knew he was cruel and understand why such inhuman tasks were demanded of the slaves building the walls. Okay. After the slave was dead, his body was hung upon a pole by a rope attached to his leg so all might see. As the crowd began to thin, I went close. On the hairy chest, I saw tattoos to entwined serpents. It was pirate. The next time I met Arod Gula, he was a changed man, full of enthusiasm. He greeted me, "Behold, the slave thou knewest in is now a free man." There was magic in the words. Already my sales and my profits are increasing. My wife is overjoyed. She was a free woman, the niece of my master. She most desires that we move to a strange city where no man shall know I was once a slave. Thus our children shall be above reproach for their father's misfortune. Work has become my best helper. It has enabled me to recapture my confidence and my skill to sell. Okay. I was overjoyed that I had been able, even in a small way, to repay him for encouragement he had given me. One evening, Swasti came to me in deep distress. "The master is in trouble. I fear for him. Some month ago, he lost much the gaming tables. He pays not the farmer for his grain, his honey. He pays not the money lender. They are angry and threaten him. Why should we worry over his folly? We are not his keepers." I replied thoughtlessly, "Foolish youth, thou understandest not. To the money lender deeders he gave the title to secure a loan. Under the law he can claim the and sell thee, and I know not what to do. He is a good master. Why, oh, why should such trouble come upon him? Not were Swasti's fears groundless, where while I was doing the baking next morning, the money lender returned with a man he called Sosi. This man looked me over and said, "I would do The moneylender waited not for my master return, but told Swasti to tell him he had taken me, with only the robe of my bag and the purse of my pennies hanging safely from my belt. I was hurried away from the unfinished baking. I was whirled away from my dearest hopes as the hurricane snatches the tree from the forest and cast into the surging sea. Again a gaming house and barely bare hand caused me disaster. Sasi was a blunt, gruff man. As he led me across the city, I told him of the good work I had been doing for Nana Nate and said I hoped to do good work for him. His reply offered no encouragement. I like not this work. My master likes it not. The king has told him to send me to build a section of Grand Canal. Master tells Sasi to buy more slabs, work hard, and finish quick. Why? How can any man finish a big job quick? Picture a desert with not a tree, just lost shrubs, and a sun burning with such fury. The water in our barrels becomes so hot we could scarcely drink it. Then picture rows of men going down into the deep excavation, excavation and logging heavy baskets of dirt of soft dusty trails from daylight until dark. Picture food served in upon throws from which we helped ourselves like wine. We had no tents, no straw for beds. Such was the situation in which I found myself. I buried my wallet in a marked spot. Uh, Wonder if I would ever dig it off again. At first, I worked with good will, but as the months dragged on, I felt my spirit breaking. Then the heat fever took hold of my body. I lost my appetite and could scarcely eat the mutton and vegetables. At night, I would toss in unhappy wakefulness. In my misery, I would wondered if Jabado had not the best plan to shirk and keep his back from being broken in work. Then I recalled my last sight of him and knew his plan was not good. I thought of Pirate with his bitterness and wondered if it might be just as well to fight and kill. The memory of his bleeding body reminded me that his plan was also useless. Then I remembered my last sight of Megiddo. His hands were deeply calloused from the hard work, but his heart was light and there was happiness on his face. His was the best plan. Yet I was just as willing to work as Megiddo. He could not have worked harder than I. Why did not my work bring me happiness and success? Was it work that brought Megiddo happiness? Or was happiness and success merely in the laps of gods? I I was I to work the rest of my life without gaining my desires, without happiness and success? All of these questions were jumbled in my mind, and I had not answer. Instead, I was sorely confused. Several days later, when it seemed that I was at the end of my endurance and my questions still unanswered. So she sent for me. A messenger had come from my master to take me back to Babylon. I dug up my precious wallet, wrapped myself in the tattered remnant of my robe, and was on my way. As we rode, the same thoughts of the hurricane whirling me hither and thither kept racing through my feverish brain. I seemed to be living the worried words of a chant from my native town of Haron, besetting a man like a whirlwind, driving him like a storm, whose course no one can follow, whose destiny no one can foretell. Was I destined to be ever thus punished for I knew not what? What new miseries and disappointments awaited me? When we rode to the courtyard of my master's house, imagine my surprise when I saw Arad Gullah awaiting me. He helped me down and hugged me like a long lost brother. As we went our way, I would have followed him as a slave should follow his master. But he would not permit me. He put his arm about me, saying, I hunted everywhere for the when I had almost given up hope, I did meet Swasti, who told me of the money lender who directed me to the noble honor I had bargained. He did drive and made me pay an outrageous price, but thou art worth it. The philosophy and the enterprise have been my inspiration to this new success. Megiddo's philosophy, not mine. I interrupted Megiddo's and the thine. Thanks to the both. We are going to Damascus and I need the for my partner. See, he exclaimed, in one moment thou wilt be a free man. So saying he drew from beneath his robe the clay tablet carrying my title. This he raised above his head and hurled it to break in 100 pieces upon the cobblestones. With glee he stamped upon the fragments until they were but dust. Tears of gratitude filled my eyes. I knew I was the luckiest man in Babylon. Work thou see by this in the time of my greatest distress didst prove to be my best friend. My willingness to work enabled me to escape from being sold to join the slave gangs upon the walls. It also so impressed the grandfather, he selected me for his partner. Then Hadangullah questioned, was work my grandfather's secret key to the golden shekels? It was the only key he had when I first knew him. Sarunada replied, the grandfather enjoyed working. The gods appreciated his efforts and rewarded him liberally. I began to see Hadam Gula was speaking thoughtfully. Work attracted his many friends who admired his industry and the success it brought. Work brought him to honors he enjoyed so much in Damascus. Work brought him all those things I have approved, and I thought work was fit only for slaves. Life is rich with many pleasures for men to enjoy, Sarunada commented. Each has its place. I am glad that work is not reserved for slaves. Where were that the case, I would be deprived of my greatest pleasure. Many things do I enjoy, but nothing takes the place of work. Sarunada and Hadangula rode in the shadows of the towering walls of to the massive bronze gates of Babylon. At their approach, the gate guards jumped to attention and respectfully saluted and honored citizen. With head held high, Sarunada led the long caravan through the gates and up the streets of the city. I have always hoped to be men like my grandfather, Hadangula confided to him. Never before did I realize just what kind of man he was. This thou hast shown me. Now that I understand, I do admire him all the more and feel more determined to be like him. I fear I can never repay the for giving me the true key to his success. From this day forth, I shall use his key. I shall start humbly as he started, which benefits my true station for better than jewelries and fine robes. So saying, Hadangula pulled the jewelry bubbles from his ears and the rings from his finger. Then, reining his horse, he dropped back and rode with deep respect behind the leader of the caravan. Okay, this is all about the chapter number 11, last chapter of this book. Okay, see you in next video with another book.